All right, let's talk about motivation. But forget all the rah-rah speeches and motivational posters. We're going to dive into the real science behind it. We're talking about actual evidence-based mind hacks to help you get started, keep going, and maybe even unlock your absolute peak performance. You know the feeling, right? You're staring at a task, you know you should do it, but you just feel stuck. It's this super frustrating cycle where the more you put something off, the bigger and scarier it seems. But what if I told you the way we think about getting motivated is completely fundamentally backward?
Okay, first up, let's talk about something called the motivation trap. This is a big one, and almost all of us fall into it without even realizing what's happening. We have this idea that we need to feel motivated before we can do something, but that single belief is the very thing that's keeping us on the couch.
This quote from author Stephen Pressfield just nails it. It really captures that tipping point perfectly. See, motivation isn't some magical feeling that just appears. It's more like a mental calculation. It's that exact moment when the pain of staying put and feeling bad about it finally becomes worse than the pain of actually getting up and doing the thing. And here it is. This is the core idea that could change everything for you. We wait and wait for motivation to strike us like a bolt of lightning, but it just doesn't work that way. We've got the cause and effect totally reversed. So let's get into the science of what really gets our gears turning. So, if waiting around for motivation is the wrong move, what's the right one? Well, that brings us to the actual science of drive. Once you understand what's really happening inside your brain, you can start to hijack the system and use it to your advantage. This is the big one. Write this down. Motivation is the result of taking action. It's not the cause. Starting, even in the smallest, most ridiculous way, is what creates its own momentum. It's like a law of physics for productivity. An object in motion stays in motion. You know, the hardest part is almost always just getting that first push. So, how does your brain actually reward you for taking action? It's all about this little chemical messenger, dopamine. When you accomplish something, and this could be anything, even just making your bed, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine, which gives you a feeling of pleasure. And guess what? Your brain is basically hardwired to chase that feeling, which makes you want to do the thing that caused it again. Now, this whole process is powered by a little engine that's always running in the background of your mind. It's called the habit loop. It starts with a cue, which triggers a craving. That craving then pushes you to a response, that's the action, which finally leads to a reward. And that dopamine hit we just talked about, that's the reward. That's what tells your brain, hey, that was good, let's remember to do that again. Okay, the science is cool, but let's get practical. How do we actually kickstart that first action to get this whole beautiful loop spinning? This whole section is about one thing: making it easier to just begin. I absolutely love this quote from the legendary choreographer Twyla Tharp. You see, for her, the real starting pistol for her intense 2-hour workout wasn't even at the gym. It was the simple, repeatable act of walking outside and hailing a cab. She realized she didn't need to find the motivation for the whole workout. She just needed enough motivation to get the cab. That's the power of a pre-game routine. And you can build your own. It just takes 3 simple steps. First, make it so ridiculously easy you can't possibly say no. If you want to work out, maybe your ritual is just putting on your running shoes. That's it. Second, get your body moving. Physical motion often comes before emotion. And third, be boringly consistent. Do the exact same pattern every single time. This automates the whole starting process, so you stop thinking and you just go. Here's another incredibly powerful hack. It's called chunking. The thought of writing a 25-page report, that's overwhelming. But what about just writing the first paragraph? Or just the outline? That feels doable, right? By breaking a huge goal into tiny, bite-sized pieces, you build up something called self-efficacy, which is just a fancy way of saying you start to believe you can actually do it. Each tiny win gives you that little dopamine hit, which then fuels you for the next chunk. So getting started is half the battle, for sure. But what about day 30 or day 300, when the initial excitement has worn off? That's where our next set of hacks comes in. These are all about playing the long game and creating motivation that lasts. First, you gotta know what kind of fuel you're using. Extrinsic motivation is all the stuff that comes from the outside, like money or praise from your boss. And that's great, but it can be fleeting. Intrinsic motivation, though, that comes from within. It's personal satisfaction, passion, or just a deep sense of purpose. That is the sustainable, high-octane fuel you need for the long haul. Okay, this one is a classic for a reason. The Seinfeld strategy is just a genius way to visualize your progress. You get a big wall calendar, and for every single day you do your task, let's say it's writing for 15 minutes, you put a big fat X over that day. Pretty soon, you'll have a chain of X's. And the satisfaction of watching that chain grow becomes this really powerful motivator. And the pain of having to break it, you'll do anything to avoid that. And look, don't be afraid to bribe yourself. Seriously, it might feel a little silly to reward yourself for doing adult things, but the science here is rock solid. When you pair a behavior you want to do with a small, immediate reward, you're literally training your brain to enjoy the process more. It works. Let's talk about one of the biggest motivation killers there is. That little voice in your head, your inner critic. When you slip up, harsh self-talk like, you're so lazy, just completely drains your battery. So you have to reframe it. Instead of beating yourself up for leaving the gym early, try telling yourself, wow, I'm so tired because I had an amazing workout today. It's all about being your own coach, not your own drill sergeant. Okay, so we've covered getting started and we've covered keeping it going. Now let's talk about the next level, the ultimate state of motivation, where productivity feels completely effortless and deeply rewarding. Let's talk about how to get in the zone. The scientific term for this is flow. And you know this feeling. It's that magical state where you're so absorbed in what you're doing that the rest of the world just kind of melts away. Time gets weird, you forget to check your phone, and the activity itself becomes the reward. This is the absolute peak of human motivation. So how do you find it? It's not just luck. It requires 3 specific conditions. You need clear goals so you know exactly what you're trying to do. You need immediate feedback so you know how you're doing. And this is the big one. The Goldilocks rule. The task can't be too easy because then you get bored, but it can't be too hard because then you get anxious. It has to be just right, stretching you right to the edge of your abilities. And when you hit it, man, it feels like this. You have this intense focus on right now. Your actions and your awareness just become one. You totally lose that nagging self-consciousness. You feel this amazing sense of control. Time flies by, and the work itself is just fun. This is the ultimate payoff for all that effort. So I'll leave you with a question to think about. What is one task in your life, could be at work, a hobby, anything, that you could redesign to help you find your flow? How could you make the goals clearer, get better feedback, or tweak the difficulty using that Goldilocks rule to turn it from a total chore into something you truly love doing?